on Senator Booker.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I want to just say that you had, Ms. Polyakova, you had a kind of a statement that I want to explore a little bit. You said Russia would be a sitting duck without the United States. It makes me concerned because I hear the president publicly flirting with indulging Russia's maximalist aims, and it seems to make me really, really alarmed. Last week, a Russian deputy foreign minister said that Ukraine won't end until NATO reduces or eliminates its military footprint in Eastern Europe across NATO's eastern flank. This includes Baltic states, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and so on. When I was in Estonia, their concerns for the U.S. alliance and partnership, especially under the Trump administration, had many people I talked with very alarmed. And so I'm wondering if you can expand on this line of thought and maybe impress upon this committee the urgency, the dire urgency of this moment we have right now before us with Russia and with a president whose posture at times really worries me.
Thank you so much, Senator Booker. It is an urgent moment, as I outlined in my written testimony, mainly because Russia is on a war footing and confrontation with NATO seems increasingly more inevitable unless the United States continues to take up a leadership position. NATO continues to deter and defend in the European theater. So Russia has, in fact, been the main obstacle to peace in Ukraine. President Putin's maximalist positions that he's not stepped away from, I think signal a very basic truth that we've learned over many administrations, that a reset with Russia doesn't get you anywhere. I think this administration has been learning that, in fact, and like other administrations have tried to reset with Russia. And I hope that they will pivot to a different strategy. That means that we need to apply pressure to the Russians to come to the table. Economic pressure, military pressure, and also pressure on their partners and allies that have been feeding Putin's war machine over the last several years. I hope that is the thinking that the administration is going to pursue the next several months, because obviously the incentive model has not worked to produce results.
And my staff corrected me for the record that I said Russia, but Europe would be a sitting duck. And so you said that your view of the Trump administration is that they understand the urgency for the American engagement and involvement. Am I right to assume that that's what you were implying?
To be frank, I don't know if that is the coherent view of everyone in the U.S. government and in the executive branch. I do think there are some, certainly, that understand the threat, yes.
It's very diplomatic of you. I want to shift in my remaining time and talk about sort of the Arctic strategy. I was really surprised on my visit last year to Iceland to understand the extent of the urgencies and the need for America to have a greater Arctic strategy and pay close attention to really what's happening in the Arctic right now. The shortest flight path between Russia and the United States is through the Arctic. The combination of melting ice caps, as you know, critical natural resources being removed and fought over, Russia's military build-up and increasing cooperation between Russia and China in the Arctic have really a lot of potential to increase tensions and expose a lot of the vulnerabilities in that area. Now, Sweden and Finland joining NATO provides to what I believe is just a great boost to the collective defense in the high north. Now, 7 of the 8 Arctic states are part of NATO, which is an incredible stride, I believe. Russia's ghost fleets that sabotage undersea cables and critical infrastructure to protecting strategic ports. I just believe we need to expand NATO's capabilities. Now, I'll tell you, I was hearing reports when I was there that the Chinese have been doing, pun intended, fishy things in that area. And so I'm wondering from both of you, what new and emerging capabilities should NATO be considering when it comes to protecting allied interests in the Arctic? And are there gaps, as you see them, in NATO's current approach to challenges in the Arctic?
I was hoping somebody would ask a question about the Arctic. I hope you might come with us again to the Arctic this August. I'll be in touch about that. That being said, you're absolutely right that we have a huge opportunity with the kind of strategic depth that Finland and Sweden joining the alliances provides us. Now we have a landmass connecting the Arctic Sea and the Baltic Sea, and we haven't quite understood what the opportunity there is to deter and defend. I think we have significant challenges in our logistics operations, communications that are well suited for that harsh environment that we haven't quite thought through. I think there's a huge amount more that we can do to ensure that we have a defense and security hub that is closely coordinated with the Nordic Baltic Aid grouping, that is closely coordinated with the NATO framework to position ourselves as the Arctic nation the United States is, and China is not in particular. The Chinese have for years seen significant interests emerge for themselves in the Arctic and have declared themselves a near polar or near Arctic nation, which of course they're not. And they're doing a lot through their proxies, the Russians now, to try to plant a flag and try to influence and undermine a strategic cohesion in the Arctic. But we have the upper hand there because now the 7 of the 8 Arctic states are NATO members, and we should take advantage of that. But I think exercises, number 1, logistics and comms, number 2, and then we can think about maybe positioning of some additional resources and kit in the region.
Mr. Rao?
You are right, Senator. This is a real opportunity. At the Madrid summit in 2022, the Arctic was mentioned for the first time in the NATO summit communique. In 2010, at the last time, or it's not the communique, the strategic compass, strategic policy document for the alliance. The last go-round, the alliance could not agree because the Norwegians wanted more NATO. The Canadians wanted to keep this a national issue. We now have more consensus in the alliance, and we've seen the Nordic powers really begin to work more with one another as well. It's the first time since the Kalmar Union of the 16th century that all the Nordic powers are in one alliance, which is a real opportunity. And there I would just say that the Arctic Council is essentially dead, but the Arctic 7 are all in NATO, and we have capabilities that have now come on board. The Finns are world leaders in icebreaker design. They have all the Arctic powers, skills in cold weather operations. And I'd like to see us cooperate more also on Russian anti-submarine capabilities and exercises. The GI-UK gap is, of course, central here, where Russians from Murmansk try to break out from the Norwegian Sea into the Atlantic, where they can threaten the American Atlantic seaboard. And Tony Radakin, the Chief of Staff of the British Armed Forces, just a few years ago, right before the outbreak of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, described the phenomenal increase in Russian submarine activity. In April, General Kavoli, the SACEUR, testified similarly in front of the House Armed Services Committee. These are areas ripe for more cooperation. I'd like to see us work more with the Arctic 7 within the NATO alliance, and probably leave the Arctic Council, which of course includes Russia, in its latent state.
Thank you very much. That urgency is something I'd love the committee to focus a little bit more on. And I want to say I've never seen, Mr. Rao, I've never seen a witness throw my staff under the bus. They didn't put in my briefing document about the Arctic, the Kalmar Treaty of 16th century. I'm going to be on my staff very upset about that lack of in my briefing.
Well, what I